Hey everybody, Doc T here. The weeks are flying by. I can't believe I've gotten a dozen or so of these podcasts put together. So this year is marked for me with Wednesdays, and every Wednesday a new podcast comes out, and it's so exciting. I'm so glad that you are here. If you're watching this on YouTube, maybe we haven't gotten it up yet, or maybe we have. It's going to occur pretty soon. But a lot of you are just listening to this. My voice as you muck your stalls or drive to work or do something that's needs something to fill in the mindless task. And I'm really grateful that I'm in your ears, hopefully helping you understand your horses a little bit better. The whole concept of the horse's advocate is to help owners look at the missing manual that's supposed to come with every horse, teach you how to take care of it. And because they don't come with that, I mean, have you noticed? We just got something, how to assemble a simple plastic box to put the dog toys in on the back porch. And it came in 3 different languages with such simple instructions and, of course, a whole full page of warnings. And if you've listened to my introduction, you've got the warning here that I'm not your veterinarian. We don't have that relationship. But everyone tries to complicate things or dumb it down in such simple steps that you kind of skip over everything because we think we know it. And when the horse comes into our barn, we think we know how we're supposed to take care of it. And it turns out that that's not true because the information that we've gained for so many years has been from sources with agendas. People want to sell you a product or a service. And in reality, that isn't what we want. We actually want what's right for the horse. And in nutrition, I've spent so much time there, especially at the Horse's Advocate website. Parentheses, are you a member yet? If not, you should really think about it. Close parentheses. Because there is so much information out there that is agenda driven, and I would categorize it as misinformation. And one of those big topic areas for me is dentistry. Now, a lot of you don't know this, especially if you've never met me before, but I know I've been a veterinarian since 1984. But in 1983, my mentor at Cornell Vet School took me aside and said, hey, Geoff, I want to show you how to stick your hand inside a horse's mouth without using a speculum or drugs. And because he's my mentor, I believed him, I trusted him, and I went ahead and did it. And it was pretty interesting because the first time I did it, I got bit really well, and not in the fingers, if you would think. It was when I was done, I was pulling my hand out. I was so excited that I felt everything that I didn't pay attention, and I lingered, and the horse's incisors came down on the butt end of my palm and bit it hard. And let me tell you, the pain brought tears to my eyes. It was so painful. And yet the experience of getting my hand inside the horse's mouth and actually feeling everything was something I will never forget. And obviously I've gone ahead and done every day of my life since then. So in 1983 to 1984, I started floating teeth in the area because I was looking to make a little extra money. I picked up a few bucks on the side. I brought with me a bottle of medication with me that helped medicate the horses because I didn't have any real skills in how to do this in a horse that wasn't immobilized. And this is where I think a lot of veterinarians find themselves out in the field looking at a horse, and the horse has a tooth issue, or we've been asked to look at the horse's teeth. And a lot of veterinarians have never been taught that they can get inside the horse's mouth without drugs. Okay, fine. P.S. If you're one of those veterinarians who wants to learn how to do it, I certainly have a whole school on this, and I'm more than willing to teach any veterinarian anywhere in the world through the online course how to do that. But before I close that plug, shameless plug for my equine dentistry school, which, by the way, is at horsemanshipdentistryschool.com, horsemanshipdentistryschool.com. I want to tell you why I decided to do it this way. And that's what the basis of this podcast is all about. So horsemanship is all about building a relationship with people. And when you build a relationship, with horses, what was I thinking? That was a Freudian slip, which means that relationships is something that is built between two living, breathing things. It could be between you and your spouse, you and your parents, you and your dogs, you and your horses, you and the person next door to you on I-95 or your local interstate. And you build a relationship like, hey, I'll tell you what, I'll stay in my lane if you stay in your lane so we don't crash. I mean, we're building relationships constantly. When we go into the local convenience store or the grocery store or the market and we want to get things, we're building a relationship with the proprietor of that store and their employees. And there's a certain way that we're supposed to act, such as you don't go down the aisles ripping packages of cookies open, starting to eat them, and throw the package off in another aisle for somebody else to clean up and not pay for it. I mean, that's inappropriate behavior, and it's disrespectful to the proprietor and their employees who are being paid by the proprietor in your purchases. So that sounds like a little esoteric thing, but when I talk about a relationship that you're going to build with your horse, it involves an intimate relationship, an eyeball-to-eyeball contact, and an understanding that the whole point of this is to build respect between you and the person you're trying to build a relationship with. So the horse that's in the stall is, number one, stuck there. They have no escape. And two, I'm a stranger, and now I have to build a relationship between me and that horse. And the easiest way to do that is to obviously just medicate the horse. I mean, you have the groom go in there, hook on the horse because the horse knows the groom. And then we go up with a syringe, inject it in the neck, which most horses are tolerant of, although I've had some horses that would rather kill me than do that. And we inject a chemical that quiets their mind, disassociates their emotional amygdala from the motor cortex, so it makes them immobile and stay there. And I had a whole nother podcast on what medications I use, but we're talking about how to build a connection with a horse without using drugs. And that's so important, because it doesn't matter whether you're floating their teeth or changing a bandage or saddling them up or whatever you're doing with a horse. Your goal is to create a partnership, a willing partnership, where the horse doesn't feel obligated, but actually feels like they want to partake in there. So let's look at some of the reasons why that would occur and why they wouldn't occur. And I'm kind of ad-libbing this because I have a couple of points in my head that I want to get over to you, and I'm going to try to get this in an organized fashion. The thing about it is I do it every day, and I just did it with two brand new horses with a new client yesterday. And the whole time I spent explaining to her what I was doing. And I think the first thing I did was I explained the personalities of their horses. So there's a lot of information in all the horsemanship sites that talks about left brain or right brain or introvert or extrovert or all these fancy things. And I go back to the original creator of this idea, at least on record. I'm sure it goes back long before this guy. But there's a Greek called Hippocrates, who's the father of medicine. And he postulated that all personalities come from certain body fluids. It sounds disgusting. But he called them phlegmatic, which is from phlegm, sanguine, which is from blood, melancholy, which is from black bile. That's what's at the end of your pitchfork, although it looks brown. And what was the other one? Choleric, which is from bile, which is like, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, the bottom line is he thought that our makeup of our personalities is a blend of these four. And most people, when they are tested in the personality profiles, they are tested with questions like 50, 100 or more questions that you answer, and based on your answer, which is multiple choice 1 through 4, where the numbers add up the most. Let's say you take 100 questions and 60 of them you answer 1, and that's associated with maybe a choleric personality. And then you have another 30 and then another 5 and another 5, and the total is 100, but it shows that you're heavily in one section. The real goal of life, and especially becoming a really good horseman, is to hit 25% of all. So you're equal in all four categories. And that's what you do when you practice every day in trying to make yourself a better horseman or yourself a better person with all people. So let's just start with what the four personalities are. I'm going to call them by their Latin names from the Greeks. Maybe that's wrong. By the Greek names? Anyway, I'm going to name them what Hippocrates called them. And then if you want to apply to what you already know, left brain, right brain, introvert, extrovert, whatever, that's fine. I don't really care. There's all sorts of ways we can define these. But almost everyone that I've read is all boiled down to these four. Choleric is the demanding, dominant, dictatorial. Their mantra is, I can't stand stupid people. Get out of my way. Get on the highway. I don't want you around unless you're with me. They're very difficult to work with unless you've earned their respect. And once you earn the respect of a choleric, then everything is easy. But if you don't earn the respect of the choleric, they will walk over the top of you. They won't recognize that you're there. I had a horse that I worked on. He won the Kentucky Derby. His name is Fuzzy Pegasus, Fupeg, everyone called him. And when I did his teeth the first time, he was such a dominant choleric horse that he didn't even recognize me as anyone in his stall the first time I went in there. And it was so fascinating because Enrico was a groom's name. And this is at Aqueduct Racetrack before he ran the Wood Memorial, which is a precursor to the Kentucky Derby. I try to go in the stall and the horse is just walking around the stall and doesn't even see me. So I said, Enrique, please go and get your horse. And he did. And he had to use special techniques. He basically got in the stall. He wasn't afraid of the horse because the horse knew him and so they knew that nobody's going to get hurt. But then he had to take the long end of the lead rope, the leather shank, and he just basically tossed it over the horse's neck and then walked with him, reached underneath the neck and took the other end. So now it has a loop of a lead around him, slid up toward his neck and pulled him in toward him and talk quietly to him, say, whoa, boy, it'll be fine. And the horse we were able to get a halter on. And then I walked in there and the horse basically says, nope, you haven't earned your respect with me. I don't know who you are. And I'm like leaving you. And that horse did everything to walk away from me because he didn't associate me with any pain relief in his mouth or anything like that. And so I did some tricks that I'm not sure if I want to talk about on air. It was in the early days of my relationship building with horses. But this horse was basically not allowing me. He didn't even recognize me. I was no different than a fly on the wall. So I got his attention and he looked at me. And then I said to him, looking straight in the eye, because clerics, a lot of them liked being looked in the eye as long as you weren't challenging them. And I said to him, okay, look, I'm here to float your teeth. I need you to stop walking around. I need you to stand still and give me a chance. Literally, that's what I said. And the horse looked at me and he says, well, at least you're considering me more than just a dumb horse. So I'll give you that chance. And when I got done, the trainer of the horse, his name was Neil Drysdale, he said to me, no one's ever been able to float this horse's teeth without drugging him. I don't know how you did it, but I'm grateful. And I did, but I had to make that strong connection between the cleric who thinks they know everything and can't stand stupid people. I had to prove to him that I wasn't stupid, but I was fair and I was willing to listen. That's how you work with clerics. And I got his teeth done. And there's more to this story. He went on to win the Kentucky Derby, and then he came back for the Belmont Stakes. And I was asked to take a look at his teeth again before the Belmont Stakes because it's back in New York. And that horse was completely changed. He had lost his spirit. It was so disappointing. And I turned to Enrique and said, "What's wrong with your horse?" And he says, "Nothing's wrong with the horse, but somebody had broke him." And there's a difference with a choleric. You can actually break them so they're actually broken. I mean, mentally, and they're no longer willing to do anything for anybody. And you have to walk that fine line. You want these cholerics to be strong and dominant. A lot of stallions, most stallions, and mares with canines, remember, mares aren't supposed to have canine teeth. These horses sometimes can, they'll want to be, they're so self-confident, these cholerics. They are absolutely self-confident. And then there are some that aren't so self-confident. They're more like bullies. And a bully is a choleric that's not confident. And you can push them over the edge and they're gone mentally forever. And you never want to do that. You have to understand the horse, you have to connect with them, and you have to meet them at their level and raise their confidence level up with you so you're matched. But unfortunately, a racehorse that's run from New York out to Kentucky, then down to Pimlico, and then back up to New York with all these gate handlers and all these chippers and all these other things, it can become too overwhelming for cholerics. Cholerics need something that's more steady state. And that's why stallions work out better with one handler than with multiple handlers, because they know who they can trust, and that's really important to them. That brings me to another personality, the phlegmatic, which is kind of like the opposite. A phlegmatic is completely unsure of anything, but really doesn't care. They're not going to make a big deal out of it. They're the type of horse that if they were a person and you ask them, "Hey, where do you want to go to lunch?" They'd say, "I don't care." "Well, when do you want to eat?" "Whenever." Is there some particular food you want to, maybe steaks or a sandwich or pizza or, something with guacamole on it? And they would shrug their shoulders and say, "It really doesn't matter." All a phlegmatic wants to know is that they are safe and that everything's going to be okay. And these horses are what every horse owner calls bomb-proof. Well, I've got news for you. Phlegmatics may look bomb-proof, but they're not, because every phlegmatic has a tipping point. And you hit that tipping point, and oh my gosh, the bomb goes off without warning. Like a choleric is going to look at you and say, "Look, I'm going to give you 3 chances. You're down to 2. Okay, that's the last straw. Next time you do that, I'm going to kill you." All right? Phlegmatic is whatever, 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 whatever. Okay, that's it. You're dead. And they will actually knock you down or kick you hard, or they'll do anything they can because they've been pushed too far. Phlegmatics are wonderful horses for newbies, because newbies or children or therapy riding programs will continue to push the horse with inappropriate behavior, like, jerking on the reins or kicking them too much, whatever. And the horse will basically say, "Whatever." But the art of knowing a phlegmatic is to know where that tipping point is, where that trigger, where that switch, and how much pressure needs to be put on that switch. And once that pressure is hit, bang. I know, because I've been working on horses and they've had no indication. They've done nothing. They just stand there. I'm floating, I'm floating, I'm floating. And then in a blink of an eye, they have knocked me down and they're standing over the top of me saying, "I warned you." And I'm like, "No, you didn't." But they just stand there. There's no continuation of it. It's just bam and done. And then they just stand there. It's just fascinating to look at these phlegmatics. But phlegmatics are pretty interesting because they're opposite of cholerics, and sometimes opposite attracts. And if you're not, if you're a choleric, if you're demanding, dominant, dictatorial, can't stand stupid people, you have to understand that there are stupid people and stupid horses out there. And that if you want to work with them, you have to accept the fact that they're not as smart as you, or they don't get it, and that they need special handling to bring them along. And that's where you have to change your personality to match theirs. And that's the key ingredient. That's the secret. If you want to become a good horseman and work with hundreds, if not thousands of different horses, not just the same one every day in the backyard, although it does help. But if you're in the business of meeting multiple horses, you don't have to go in there with your set personality. You have to go in there with a very flexible personality. And as you flex it, you will adapt your response to the horse. So when the horse is choleric, you don't want to go in there and bully them. You want to go in there and be confident. The more confident you are, the more connection you'll have with the choleric. The more confident you are but willing to listen, you'll connect with phlegmatic. Because the phlegmatic really doesn't care how connected you are. They'll do it until that point. And if you're not paying attention, you go beyond that point and bang, it's over. So there's two more personalities I want to go over before we end this podcast. There is the Melancholi. The Melancholi horse loves lists. You know people like this. Maybe you are one of these people. But these people like lists. They have a grocery list. They go into the store and they check off milk, eggs, meat, crackers, whatever. You're going down your list, and when they're all checked off, you're done. But what happens when you see that bag of cookies that you really want, and we all know that grain's not good for you, nor sugar, but let's just, for sake of argument, you see something that you want, and it's not on the list. How do you handle that? Well, if you're very well trained, you'll walk by that. Because I'm avoiding sugar, I'm avoiding grain, so I'm not going to buy that cookie. Or if you're not, you're going to say, wee, it's a cookie, let's go get this, and you grab it, and you go out, and you start making all the lists in your mind, the reasons why you deserve that bag of cookie. So now you have your reasons all set, and now everything's good. That's what a Melancholi does. So let me tell you what it's like for a horse. The horse is going along, and you've said to the horse, we are going on a trail ride. And the horse says, okay, trail ride. I bring up my trail ride list, and I know that all these things are on the trail ride list. Like, you're going to be talking on the phone, so I have to take care of you. Or maybe not. Maybe you're a better horseman than that. There's going to be birds. I know there's going to be lots of birds. I know there's going to be maybe a rabbit. I get it. There's going to be squirrels. I get it. So everything's fine. I'm going to walk just fine because, there's the squirrels. Okay, those on my list, I'm fine. And you told me that we're going to go out for a 1 hour walk. So we're on that. We're doing fine. We're getting to that point where we're going to do the turnaround. Everything's fine. Snake! Ah! Hope that didn't blow out your ears. I'm sorry. But that wasn't on the list. And when things aren't on the list, there's a tremendous reaction to some horses. Some horses don't know what to do. It's a person seeing the cookies that they didn't think they were going to see in the store, and they gotta have them. All right. So you react irresponsibly, without the predictive behavior. And it happened to my wife. She's walking along with her horse. Everything's fine. There's, the birds are there, the alligators are there, everything's there, no big deal. But the horse never expected that two people would come out of the woods wearing backpacks. But that wasn't the problem. They came out and they were a little lost, and they asked my wife which way, and she told them. And then they suddenly turned. And that was it for her horse. The horse dumped her and took off. Everybody's fear. And it happened to my wife. And that's a Melancholi horse that suddenly something wasn't on the list. And the tipping point occurred, and boom, they were gone. This is why you have to be 100% attentive. So when somebody walks out of the wood and starts asking you questions, that doesn't move up to your priority list as a number one. It stays down below. Your priority number one is to stay connected with a horse. And every time I work with a horse that's a Melancholi, and you can feel them right away, not only do I stay connected, but I actually talk in English to these guys. I'll say, okay, we're done here. I'm going to move the float blade from the right side of your mouth over to the left side of your mouth. And they understand that, because if I didn't say it, I moved to the other side, they would go back to their, behavior. Hey, don't go back there. But because I said it and I'm looking at them in the eye, they say, okay. And I move, okay, here we go. And I move the blade over to the other side, and the horse says, okay, I'm with you. Okay, we're continuing down this path. I'm building my list with you. I'm understanding what it's like to be with you and what you want. And Melancholis are really easy to work with, especially if you use language that they know. It's really tough on these horses that are imported and they don't know English. They know, German, or they know Dutch, or they know French. And with those horses, I often change my language and just say, good, brave, très bien, or whatever language they need. and you can see them physically melt in your hands by just changing the language that they understand. It is so cool. Just because a horse can't speak your language doesn't mean they can't understand your language. And that's something, I mean, you look at a dog, they can't say play dead, roll over, come here. They can't say any of those words, yet you give them the signals and they come. Same with your horse, and especially with a Melancholi. The more you talk to them in their language, the more they're going to connect with you. It's fascinating to watch. Okay, and the final one is the Sanguine. Sanguines are, I'm a little bit sanguine myself. Sanguines are, if they're on stage and the spotlight's on, they will sing and dance all day for you. Sanguines are often associated with ADD, attention disorder. They are sitting there talking to you, and all of a sudden they say, oh, there's a squirrel over there. And they start going over to the squirrel, and you're like, what happened to us? You know, it's a cold day. I think I'm going to buck and play because it's a cold day. I just love it out here. Let's go. Let's have some fun. And you're like, can you just stay focused and calm? And you're constantly wiggling them and, you know, doing whatever you have to do to keep them focused on task. Sanguines are like that. And once you understand that, you can make the process fun. So as they're going down the trail, let's say, and something new comes, stop and let them look at it. Say, wow, isn't that great? Get inspired with them and then bring them back. Okay, now we need to go this way. And you need to give them a moment and they'll go that way. You'll see them in a training ring. You'll see them in a stall. They'll like, oh, somebody's here to clean my stall. Oh, this is good. Hi, hi, hi. This is me. Hi. And you're like, can you just get out of my space? Just leave, get out of my space, stand over there and eat hay so I can clean the stall. And they're like, no, I just like having somebody in here. This is so much fun. They're a little bit more effort on your part. You're going to have to keep your energy low. The lower you can keep your energy, the lower their energy comes down. What happens with sanguine horses is their energy can spike so quickly. And if your energy spikes with them, boink, they will go up because they say, wow, somebody's as excited as I am. So they'll up theirs and you'll up yours and they'll up yours. And pretty soon you have a horse that's rearing up and running away from you on a cold day. So you have to anticipate a cold day with a sanguine and you focus on your energy. The more you keep your energy low, the more sanguine's energy will stay low. And this applies to all personalities. Keep your energy low and keep yourself in control. Keep adjusting your personalities to match the personality that you're working with a horse. Or in this case, in the sanguine, go the opposite direction. But you are in control of yours. Let's say you have a sanguine who's dancing outside because of a cold breeze and it's a beautiful day. And your choleric personality demands respect and you are going to lead the way I tell you you're going to lead. Well, you're going to have a big clash. It's never going to work. So what you can do is join in with the sanguine, let them know that you're excited too, but do it with such low energy that they will bring their energy down to you and follow you, and that will satisfy your choleric being. So just to review, there's 4 personalities. I call them sanguine, choleric, melancholy, and phlegmatic. You can review this recording and just go over them again, maybe take some notes. Know that phlegmatics are, they need stability. They need to know what's in their life and they don't like change. You have the choleric who is very confident and they're either confident and understanding or they're confident and they're demanding. And you have to figure out who they are and get them to understand that they need to be a willing partner. You've got the melancholy who's constantly making lists, and you have to make sure that your agenda is on their list and that they understand that. Be sure to use their language and actually talk around these horses in sentences, in full sentences that they can understand. You are giving instructions to melancholy and phlegmatic, choleric, and I forgot the other one, sanguine. Just enjoy them. They are They are a bundle of energy. They've got great outgoing personalities. They're fun to be around. Thoroughbreds there are a lot of sanguines and thoroughbreds. This is why so many people don't like thoroughbreds, because they don't know what to do with them. They can't communicate. Yet the horse is trying to communicate like crazy, trying to say, wow, isn't this great? Or, hey, you're hurting me. Or, hey, this, or hey, that. And humans just put their hand up and shut them down and say, look, I'm not interested in what you got to say. Sanguines, you got to be interested in everything they say. And it's just like having a 2-year-old kid around. They're constantly going to be poking you and climbing on your leg and talking and interrupting. And you just have to be the leader and show them what the proper behavior is. And you can help change their personalities, just like you can work on your own personalities. So I hope this podcast is pretty interesting. It's full of ideas. I've been working with horses coming up on my 50th year since, let's see, 1973. So 2023 will be 50 years for me. And these are the things that I've learned through experience. I've never taken a horsemanship course. I've never applied any effort into learning anybody else's way. This is just my way. This is what I use every day, because I've worked with tens of thousands of horses. In fact, this is kind of fascinating. A little bit later this year, I'm thinking about September or so, I'm going to be floating my 75th thousandth horse. That's 75,000. That's a lot of horses I've been inside their mouths working on. And that doesn't include all the other horses I've worked with in my life. So this is just what I've gleaned. This is what I've put together. This is what works for me. And every time I explain it, like I did to the owner yesterday and her 2 new horses, I explained what I was doing. She was physically able to see how I worked with her phlegmatic horse and with her melancholy horse. And when I brought out to her the differences between these two, she was totally stunned and amazed, because most people think horses are all the same. They don't have any different personalities. They also don't think people have different personalities. And there are certain people who never do a podcast, and there's sanguines like me who have no problem doing a podcast and maybe worry about making a mistake. Sanguines don't care about making mistakes. Melancholies, well, they'll have a list. They'll be looking down their sheet, making sure they're covering everything. I'm not doing that. That's more of a sanguine. Choleric means that I want to be a leader in my field. I want people to understand that there's more to learn about horses. And I'm leading by setting up the Horses Advocate and these podcasts and everything. So thanks again for being with me. I'm going to put in my plug. The Horses Advocate, 3 words, thehorsesadvocate.com. Please go there. I have approximately 700 topics. A lot of them need a lot more work. I understand that. And if you become a member, then you can say to me, hey, Doc, why haven't you told me anything about stifles? That's what one gal asked just yesterday. How come there's nothing about stifles on there? I'm like, because I don't have time. So just become a member. It really helps support. Oh, and another thing you can do, if you're on Apple Podcasts, and if you're not, I understand. There's a lot of people who don't like Apple. Go to your Google Podcasts, or your Stitcher, or your Spotify, or wherever. And if you wouldn't mind, just take a moment to give me a rating. I have 2 5-star ratings on Apple right now, but nobody's written anything about what the learning or anything good or bad that I can learn from. But the more ratings I get, the higher stature I get, which everybody wants stature, because with stature, more people are going to find these podcasts. And if you find them interesting and rewarding and helpful, and you want other people to listen to them, go ahead and put a 5-star review, or just put some words, write it down, copy, write on text edit, and then copy it and paste it so all that spelling errors are gone. And see, there's my perfectionist. Anyway, do what you can and give me some reviews. I don't care if they're 1-star reviews, you hate it, I get it, but I don't know. Nobody's saying anything. So the more people review, the better off I am, and the better off we all are as horse people, because the more people who understand things like this, the better off we all are. All right, I think I spent enough time. Hopefully you got your stalls done or you're at work, and I appreciate you spending your time here. Thehorsesadvocate.com. Please become a member. And Doc T, I'll see you later. Bye. Hey everyone, Doc T here. Thank you for listening to my content. Would you do me a huge favor? Would you please subscribe, comment, like, thumbs up, and give a star review? However it's presented to you, I want you to do that.
There are two reasons. The first, of course, is to improve this product. This way I know what you like, what you don't like, what I can improve upon, what topics you want me to cover. But more importantly, it's also going to help others find me. And by doing that, you are now engaged in this mission of helping horses thrive in a human world. By you helping, we can reach others. And that I would be so grateful for. And remember, go to thehorsesadvocate.com for updates on this information. Thehorsesadvocate.com. And again, thank you so much for being here. Doc T out.